Before we begin, I just want to let you know that we have launched our channel membership finally. That gives you some little emoji that my brother designed. It's like a little man called SwitchUp. He's in purple. And then the longer you remember, he gradually goes gold and we'll add some more bits and bobs there. But if you want to do that, I think there's a join button or something. Don't feel you have to. It's really for those people that have been around the channel for a while and want to support us. Hi everyone, and welcome back to SwitchUp. And some pretty exciting news, honestly. If you remember, we gave away 2 Nintendo Switch OLED consoles probably about a year ago now. And we're going to be giving away some special prizes during our 12 days of SwitchUp, which is the 12 days leading up to Christmas, where we do some Christmas specials. If you want to save 10% on any of these games, then you can save 10% on your Eshop cards, which are digital and delivered to you instantly if you're in the EU or US regions, over at switchup.gg using code SwitchUp. There are some quality games on sale this week. What do I think are the 10 best? Well, let's find out. First up then, at its cheapest ever price, we've got No Kuni 2. The Princes Edition, which is £14.99, that's 70% off, and yep, the cheapest it's ever been. Now, we've got a full review of this one on the channel. If you want to go check that out, I'll put links in the description. But it's an excellent, if slightly underrated, RPG. People were expecting a clone of the first game, which didn't happen, and they kind of tended to see this as the lesser of the 2 games, which I'm not necessarily sure that's how I feel. After a while, it really does grow on you. I love the larger strategic elements, how you can build your town and you'll have to do some defensive work, and I did enjoy it. I think initially I kind of was in the same boat as everyone else, thinking the first one was better, but then eventually this one really did get its hooks in. It's 10.6 gigabytes, and that's until October the 13th. Not usually my style of game, but I think I can cope with this. It's Little Nightmares 2. Again, we've got a review on the channel, check that out, but it comes from Bandai Namco and is developed by Tarsier Studios. It's a puzzle platform adventure with a horror twist, and you play as Mono, who's a young boy that's trapped in a world that has been distorted by the humming transmission of a distant tower. And he's guided by Six, who is the girl in the yellow raincoat. And as far as Glen's concerned, this was better than the first game. Now, as these tend to be, it's not the longest. You're looking at around about 6 to 10 hours, but a very good game and well worth that price. That sale ends on October the 13th as well. Someone posted a comment the other day. It was something along the lines of, "You guys don't give Cat Quest 2 enough love." And I'm like, man, I love Cat Quest. And I'm pretty sure we have like the biggest review of it on YouTube, and it's easily one of the best co-op games you can find. Now, it's an RPG adventure, it's an ARPG, so an action RPG, and in this one, the sequel, which you don't need to have played the first game, it sees the war between the cats and the dogs, but it is the perfect game if you're playing with a partner. It's not a kids game or anything like that, but kids can easily pick this one up and join in, and there are loads of different weapons, abilities, and it's just a fun game to play, and I absolutely love that art style. For £2.59, that's the cheapest it's ever been until October the 16th. Oh, and it's less than a gigabyte to download. It's funny, isn't it? Because a game doesn't have to be perfect for it to stick in your memory and become one of your all-time favourites. And A Short Hike is in no way a perfect game, but it is very, very well refined. It's pure enjoyable. Literally enter this world, climb a mountain, and on your way, chat to a few people and do a few little random tasks, all the while gliding around, collecting the hidden treasures, and sometimes taking part in weird mini games as well. It's just so chilled out. It's rare for me to go back to a title as often as I do A Short Hike, and I guess it's lived up to its title. It's one that you can repeat many, many times and still has the same whimsical charm as if it was the first. It's only 433 megabytes, and if you need a game that's going to cheer you up, as I'm sure some of you do, this may well be the one. £4.21 until October the 12th, so you haven't got long, but well worth that price. games. And then we've got a double pick, the first of which is only available in the EU regions, and it's the excellent Tales of Vesperia, the definitive edition, which is 82% off until October the 13th, has a 13.1GB download, and it takes it to £7.19. I feel sorry for Vesperia because it often gets overlooked by No Kuni fans. Like they play that one and this kind of sits there in the back burner until they eventually play it and they're like, oh my goodness, I think I might actually prefer that. This also has some multiplayer components to it and a brilliant storyline. Now, the thing with these games is it's all about time. Have you got the time to play it? Well, that's up to you to decide, but it's certainly worth adding if you're a fan of JRPGs. Now, the other one within this one pick, so that the US also have a game, is the exceptional Ori and the Will of the Wisps. This scored an incredibly high score on the channel. I believe it held the highest score for a while. And in the US regions and the Americas, it's currently 66% off, taking it down to the more than bargain price of $10.19. It has a 4.3GB download, and it's a Metroidvania that has an incredible Studio Ghibli art style, or Ghibli, as that one guy is screaming in the comments. I know that's the correct pronunciation. I'm just stuck in my ways. One thing that often gets overlooked in many games is the soundtrack, and this is right up there with one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard. And fair play, the developer did an incredible job of porting it across to the Nintendo Switch and for it still to look so impressive. That sale goes on until October the 17th. One of our favourite games on the channel is Trials of Mana. This is currently the very reasonable price of 50% off, and it's an action RPG, so no turn-based combat. You choose 3 different characters, and it's essentially the remaster or the remake of Seiken Densetsu 3. I hope I've said that right. What I found about this when I reviewed it was really easy to understand what you were doing and why you were doing it. It also did a really good job of making me care about the characters by giving me this optional backstory that you can actually play through, or you could skip it entirely if you've already completed the game and going for a second run. The choices you make with the team you choose to play as well will also affect the game outcomes, and as you reach certain points in the game, you get to change your class up a bit. I think I became a monk, if I remember correctly. Really good, really enjoyed it, and I love the visuals. Another big chunky one that goes on sale until October the 13th. Continuing in that same vein then, we've got Legend of Mana. This one, which features offline 1 or 2 player, is centered around the journey to find the mystical mana tree or mana tree. And if I understood it correctly from Glen's review, there's an element by where you rebuild or recreate the world map, which is originally empty. You get to choose where to place these artifacts, and that then brings towns and dungeons, etc. back into the world. That's very cool. They also included a never before released minigame called Ring Ring Land. So yeah, if that interests you, check out the review. It's slightly different than the last one, but all part of the same series. Based on a really famous graphic novel, we've got Battle Chasers Night War, a classic style JRPG format with a ragtag group of adventurers that starts out in bombastic fashion when they're essentially blown out of the sky. Now, there's a bit of filler in here, as you would find with most JRPGs, but it's a bit back heavy, so towards the end of the game it does get, you know, you're a bit like, my goodness, come on. But it still won me over for its incredible visual style. I love the combat as well. I thought that was enjoyable. And I enjoy the adventure segments where you're moving around freely. Each hero has their own skills, and these are used within the dungeons. So if you're after another JRPG, this might be a good one to consider. It's just 2.6 gigabytes, and this sale goes on until October the 20th. Then on to another game that is absolutely Glen's taste and not mine, but I'm going to mention it because it's all patched up and essentially ready to go. It's Tormented Souls. This is 20% off at the moment and is an old school survival horror style third-person adventure. It has that fixed perspective, but the controls have been modernized, so, well, if you ever played old school Resident Evil, you haven't got to worry about turning around like that. But by all accounts, it has some really nice little puzzles in there, the storyline's decent, and of course it's an abandoned mansion. That's the lore of old school survival horror. Even I've completed the first 2 Resident Evil games, although the third one really wound me up when I was constantly being chased by, is it Nemesis? Man, I'm just having a nostalgia moment for the cases on the PlayStation. Do you remember those square original cases? I remember trying to sneak it past my mum. Didn't work, she saw it, but I do think I managed to convince her that that it was okay. Oh dear. Now the combined kids pick and adults pick and pick of the week and hidden gem for me is going to Songbird Symphony this week. It's $2.54 or your regional equivalent, which is 85% off, and I absolutely loved it. Now when I first saw it, it reminded me of the New Zealand Story. Do you remember that? I mean, if you're super old like me, you will. It's nothing like it in terms of its core gameplay. There's like a music mechanic here, whereby you have to perform different songs that you learn to progress in the main storyline. But it still kind of, I don't know, it just flared up that nostalgia for what was an incredible game. Now it tells a really nice story in a reasonably short time. You could play, I reckon, probably finish it in about 5 hours. It's actually a lot harder than it looks. I know I've said it's for kids, but I'd say it's one that you'd kind of play together. It's actually really challenging. Some of those musical sections, they're not easy, but it was great, and there were loads of little secrets hidden everywhere and references. This one goes on sale until October the 17th. Which takes us on to a game that I've been playing on the Switch so that potentially you don't have to, and it's a controversial one. It's Lego Brawls. Now, when I first started it, I thought, actually, do you know what, this isn't too bad. This is quite an interesting take on the brawler, but it lost me so quickly. It just doesn't do enough to keep you interested, and I know it's designed for kids. I have young kids that have played many of the games on Switch that are designed for kids, and this is one that didn't keep their attention either. It's not to say it's a bad game, and I would suggest, you know, if you're going to pick it up, do it on a very, very deep sale. It's just not as good as I think most people are expecting it to be. And even things like the vehicles, they don't do enough to differentiate it. So I wouldn't say it's a complete avoid, but if you're going to think about picking this one up for Christmas for your kids, maybe see if you can get it on a deep discount. There's fun for them to have here for sure, but also there are a few performance issues in there. There are some areas that downright lag, and in a game like this, you don't want that at all. Let me know in the comments what titles you've been playing that potentially you think, do you know what, this isn't for me. It could be one that we've reviewed really well on the channel and you think, no, I don't like it. Or it could be one that we've not mentioned at all and you're like, this is the worst thing since... Well, that's weird, isn't it? You don't usually say the worst thing since. It's normally the best thing since sliced bread. So we'll have to say the worst thing since Balan Wonderworld. That poor guy. Nice one. All right, save 10% on any of these games to buy your vouchers legitimately through our website, switchup.gg, fully endorsed by Nintendo. And we haven't forgotten about Canada. We haven't forgotten about a lot of the South American regions. Those are things that are in the works, but you would not believe how long it takes to jump through the hoops of a certain company that has a red with white writing, and you know who I'm talking about. Oh, and this is a salute to the 2 members of the channel that we have now. We've had 2 members join. You can join by pressing the join button if you want to support us, and you get a little emoji of a SwitchUp man in purple. And he gradually becomes Super SwitchUp Man and goes yellow the longer you're a member. So if you want to do that, crack on. If you don't, no worries. And thanks to our patrons as well. We've had a couple of new ones. And as always, we really do appreciate any support you guys can give, but it is not necessary at all. There's a Discord in the description. Go there completely free. Find some new friends. Put your Switch code on there and you can find a lot of people to join you in these online games. Things like Overwatch 2. It's almost like a ready-made little SwitchUp community of people that aren't like those annoying comment trolls. So yeah. Good stuff. Have a lovely day. I'm going to have a bonfire tonight and cook a steak on it with a couple of pals and maybe have a marshmallow. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya.